President of NHL Events and Content, Steve Mayer, joins the show, and we react to three Panthers making their respective Olympic teams.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Thursday, January 1st edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the nation's #1 sports podcasting network, and it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MondoMan12. Follow the show anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Shout out to everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. So, Panther fans, grateful to be back here once again on another edition of the show to discuss everything in the world of the Florida Panthers. Thankful for this event to finally be here in the Winter Classic. In the first two segments, we are going to be chatting with Steve Mayer, president of NHL Events and Content, about the details of the Winter Classic that is coming up on Friday, January 2nd, 2026 at 8 p.m. from Lone Depot Park in Little Havana. So without further ado, let's get to that interview with myself and Steve Mayer. And very pleased to be joined by the president of NHL Events and Content, joining us here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. He is Steve Mayer, here to discuss everything regarding the Winter Classic, the past when it comes to outdoor games, and what the future could look like regarding future games. Steve, thank you so much for joining us here on the show.
Armando, thank you for having me. Really looking forward to this upcoming outdoor game.
Yes, and if you are watching here on the YouTube, going to full screen Steve real quick. He is currently at Lone Depot Park, the site of the 2026 Winter Classic that will be taking place on January 2nd at 8 p.m. on TNT for those who will be watching the event at home. So the first question I kind of want to get into with you, Steve, is discussing how the outdoor games, the first one coming out in 2003 and then it becoming yearly from 2008 on, the Stadium Series did not begin until 2014. So I just want to discuss just how kind of we got here to South Florida and just when it comes to the venues that were involved and now expanding even more south.
So, the evolution of the outdoor game, and you said it yourself, has been ongoing for, 25 years. But, it is amazing that we haven't been to Florida. And there were a lot of reasons. Florida weather and ice, usually it doesn't mix that well unless it's in a drink and a frosty beverage. So we needed to perfect the ice making. We needed to get comfortable that we could put an outdoor game on in Florida. And when we became comfortable, it also coincided with just an incredible boom of hockey in Florida, between what's going on in Miami and in this South Florida area with the Florida Panthers and what's gone on in Tampa with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's incredible. And, you're seeing it in the amount of young people playing hockey. The fandom has just gone crazy, so we became very comfortable with the fact that we could sell out stadiums. Remember, this is an outdoor hockey game. It's not in an arena. You're selling a considerable amount of tickets. And both the Panthers and the Lightning were playing a game in a month in Tampa. Both deserve it. And, we are so thrilled that we're going to be able to put this game on. Armando, between you and I, this stadium with a roof makes the build of the rink and the ice a lot easier. And, we knew that there would be some risk when we opened the roof the night of the game, but the temperatures are trending in the right direction.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be just a wonderful night of hockey and a celebration of everything that's gone on in Florida over the course of the last 20 years.
Yeah, and I remember Gary Bettman discussing with TNT during last year's Winter Classic in Chicago about where the next game will be. And he said that people might think that we are crazy. And hey, it's become a reality based on the fact that Florida is going to be hosting two. And the great thing about this game on Friday night is it's going to be the standalone game for the NHL, which is awesome. So, and no conflicts with the college football playoff, week 18 of the NFL. So everybody is going to be looking at South Florida, especially those people who might be a little skeptical with how an outdoor game will work. But one thing that I did think about was the fact that when the Carolina Hurricanes hosted an outdoor game at Carter Finley Stadium against the Capitals just a few years ago, that was kind of the next wave of outdoor games. I know there was one in Dallas the year before at the Cotton Bowl, but also the fact that I remember Marty Smith going over the technology that it takes to build an actual rink there. So go in. I'm going to give you the floor to kind of go into that about how the ice is going to be maintained, along with the themes that we are going to see on Friday night.
Yeah, so again, and we've played in now Raleigh and Nashville and Dallas and Los Angeles. 10 years ago, a little more. We played in warm places. Listen, the ice making is a science. You might think it's so simple. Oh, you put water, in a glass and you put it in the freezer and it's going to freeze up, and it's so much more complicated. The actual apparatus that goes into the ice making is quite significant, and I'm always blown away. I'm not that guy that builds the rink, but the people that do are the best in the world. And what they do is, as the game goes on, no matter what the temperature is, there's the ability to sort of change the temperature, and everything is controlled underneath the rink. But change the temperature so that it matches the outside. Obviously, if it's warmer, they go colder, and they find that happy medium. But remember this as well. We're not just making an ice rink. We're making an NHL ice rink, so that it has to be of the highest quality. We're playing a game that counts in the standings,
Yes,
just like any other game. This is really important. We got two teams that are playing, both the Panthers and the Rangers, who are going to be fighting for a playoff spot. So this game, in the end of the season, could be the game that puts the team in or out of the playoffs. So you have to consider all of these factors. I think in the end of the day, though, we're so confident, just so confident. And I must admit, the Florida weather is actually helping us, because we think we're going to be in the low 60s, high 50s. That's perfect. Thematically, I think fans are going to be really excited. And, one of the things we take a lot of pride in is what we do, not only on the rink, but all around the rink. The theme of the game. And, even though it sounds pretty obvious, we're really leaning into, summer meets winter, hot meets cold, fire meets ice. You can probably tag it however you want. But in the end of the day, for us, we really wanted to show the rest of the world it's that important. You mentioned we don't have a lot of competition, so a lot of people are going to be watching this game. And we want to make sure that the second they turn on the game on TNT, they know we're doing this game in Miami, Florida. They know this is a game that's celebrating Florida hockey. They know that this is the first time that we've ever done an outdoor game in Florida. So there's going to be things on the field and on the design of the field that really lean into where we are. Half the field, for your sort of idea to get your viewers and your listeners in sort of that mode, half the field is the summer, is the beaches, is the cabanas and umbrellas and lifeguard stands, and it's going to feel very much like we're on a beach in Miami. The other half is as if there was a snowstorm that blew through Miami, and the other half is going to be snow and palm trees covered in snow, and those same sort of Miami iconic landmarks are going to just have snow all over them. And we might even make it snow. as part of the fun that we're going to have. Like, that's one of the things we love, is coming up with creative ideas throughout the entire game, from the beginning of when a fan walks in the building to the end when he leaves or she leaves. We want to make this the experience of a lifetime, really unique. And not only are you coming to watch a hockey game, but you're coming to watch a show. And, and it will be a show, and we're going to have some fun. And clearly most of the fun is related to where we are.
We're going to take a little bit of a break from our conversation with Steve Mayer to tell you guys all about FanDuel. And Friday nights in the NBA are great. They feel a little different. And with FanDuel, they make them even better. Before the games tip off, FanDuel gives you fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app right before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new, boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly specials right before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect, right before the games, right before the weekend starts. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour. Every Friday from 6 to 7:30, a little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. And you had an opportunity just a few years ago with the Panthers hosting the All-Star game to kind of think what your theme is going to look like, how it's going to relate between the two. So the fact that the NHL has come back so many times over just the last 3-4 years has been definitely helpful for what they have been planning to do. So the temperature is going to be great. It may not be the warmest Winter Classic that right now belongs to the Avalanche versus Red Wings in their Stadium Series back in Coors Field in 2016. But you guys have been to so many multiple iconic places like the Air Force Academy, Big House, Fenway Park, Notre Dame. Lone Depot Park is the old site of the Orange Bowl where the Miami Dolphins played and the Miami Hurricanes. And also it's 2 miles away from where the Panthers first called home of the Miami Arena. How important was this to give the historical context to this game with the dedication to the Tropical Hockey League?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really cool stadium, and you're right. To talk about history, it's got a ton of it, and some of the most iconic games in the history of football, college football, have been played right here. It's pretty cool to know that, and then obviously what the Marlins have done, and we're honored to be here. This is really, again, I mentioned it earlier, but every time we have a roof over us for the build of what we sort of put together over the 2.5 weeks before the game starts, wow, it makes such a difference. And so, yeah, and it's kind of wild because, even just this morning, we were leaving our hotel, and now we've got about 250 to 300 people on site, working the game. So we were leaving our hotel, and there's a shuttle bus that picks us up, and we were sort of walking around the corner to get to the bus, and you kind of go, wow. I mean, it's 80 degrees out, and we're going to be playing an outdoor game here. And I know we're not going to break the record. I'm going to make an official announcement. This will not be the warmest game on record, unless there's some dramatic turn that I can't imagine before the game happens on Friday. But I will tell you that it's bizarre in some ways that, like, we're playing outdoor hockey and it is spectacular during the days here. But, this is cool. And the fact, I think another thing that's really cool, we're checking another box off. The Florida Panthers are one of only 2 teams in all of the NHL that have never played in an outdoor game. I can't believe it, but it's true. And going back, Armando, we had the greatest experience doing the All-Star game here. We learned a lot. We really played in, I thought, to where we were for the All-Star game. We did a lot of things on the beach and played to what, is Florida. But we've been here so many times. Like, I feel like I should take up residence. I mean, we've come back here for the playoffs, the Stanley Cup final, opening nights, banner raisings. At the league level, we've spent a lot of time in Florida, and rightly so. And, we're happy to be here again.
No doubt. And the success of the Florida Panthers is a big part of it. And hey, an outdoor game doesn't happen without the success of the Florida Panthers with President's Trophy, 3 straight trips to the Stanley Cup final. And it's a region that has been rewarded. And to think that the Panthers, when the NHL announced that they were getting a Winter Classic game, they hadn't won their second consecutive championship yet. So that validates it even more for the region. And yeah, you mentioned about how the media gets the transportation from the hotel to the stadium. Also, some options for fans, as the Brightline station will have a shuttle as well, along with Government Center, the Metro Rail station as well. So there are multiple ways to get into a place that may be a little cramped when you're talking about regarding Miami traffic in Little Havana. But the sight lines that you'll see for the skyline for downtown Miami is going to be awesome, with the panels open as well. So I'm very excited about that. So you talked about making it snow a little bit. Pyrotechnics for this event, the fact that it's going to be played in South Florida, I assume there won't be any fire related regarding on Friday's game, right?
Oh no, come on, Armando. Of course there'll be fire.
Okay.
Listen, we're these are our shows and big ones, and we are here to entertain everything from role model who's performing to our opening, which I think is coming together. It's going to be spectacular, and it will involve everything you could imagine. The whole field is going to come alive. I don't want to give too much away. The whole field is going to come alive as both teams come out onto the field for the first time. And that's part of what we love to do. And it's part of being, if you've never been to an outdoor game, it's an experience. It truly is. And, again, we think we've got a lot of things that are lined up that are unique. You mentioned it. We have a pregame also outdoors, outside the stadium, where, if you come with your family, the kids can put a stick in their hand and shoot pucks. We've got a concert before the game with role model for 1 hour. He's a 1 hour concert. This is all before the game. So I would say, and better than I do, this is an area, that it gets a little tough to get here. I'm not telling anybody who lives here anything they don't know. So get here early. There is so much to do early. It's going to be a beautiful day. So take advantage of it and beat the traffic. But I'm telling you, you're not going to stand around. Beat the traffic and come and have some fun before the game outside the stadium. And then once you go inside, from the time you walk into the building, we got stuff going on. Like, look to the left, look to the right. There's a lot, and it's fun. And we want our fans to have the ultimate experience. And if you've got a ticket to the game and you're lucky enough, we can't wait to host you.
No doubt. The Fan Fest will begin at 2. And one final question before we get out up here. The future, only one team has not been able to host an outdoor game yet, and that is the Utah Hockey Club, formerly the Arizona Coyotes. I did search that the University of Utah Stadium is 5 miles away. So, and then a second parter to this question is, I know the Stadium Series is coming in a month to Raymond James Stadium, and we still don't know whether the Buccaneers are going to be, if they win on Saturday, they'll host the playoff game, but there's also a chance they could host the NFC Championship game. Is there a plan B for in case that does happen, along with the future possibly in Utah?
Good questions. Very good questions, Armando. So let me take the last question first. We're very aware of the Buccaneer obviously goal to win the Super Bowl, and the potential that if the NFC Championship is in Tampa, we would be, I guess, up against it. Listen, we work pretty normal days for those that are listening. We have certain people that work longer when we put these games together. If we have to put a few 24-hour days together, in order to get it done, we're going to get it done. And we know the risk, and we went into it knowing very well there could be an NFC Championship game, and we're certainly monitoring the situation, and we do wish the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all the best. But we're just going to have to work around the clock, and there's plenty of hours. Believe me, there's plenty of hours in order to get it done. As far as future games go, we've already announced Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to Stadium Series and AT&T Stadium. We made that announcement on Monday Night Football. Obviously, and I can't speak to too much, but it's around Winter Classic time.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it earlier. You remember Gary Bettman sitting on the set at the last Winter Classic saying, people are going to think we're crazy. And so we're around the timing again of announcing next year's Winter Classic. And as far as one of the teams that you mentioned, listen, one of the beauties of my job, and I love it, is that all 32 teams, whether they've played a game or they've played 10 games, and the teams that have actually played in a lot of outdoor games, they're always wanting to play the next game. There's no one in the league that doesn't want to play as an opponent or a home team in an outdoor game. And so we constantly are weighing, what our best options are. We are always looking at where we haven't been. And we have right now probably a lineup for 2 or 3 years that we are pretty confident in. And when we announce those teams and those big games, that's sort of up to us and our broadcast partners. And so I think you'll hear a few announcements in the coming weeks. I mean, if I break news with that, okay, I break news. But I'm certainly, we got to keep it a surprise, Armando.
No doubt.
But listen, the future of the outdoor games is significant. Mm-hmm. It's happening. We're not stopping them. We know, and I see it this week. People are talking about the game. People are excited here, and that's the way it is no matter where we go. And we just love putting these games on, and they're just incredible showcases for the NHL, not only to hockey fans, but to sports fans.
Yeah, and last year the announcement for South Florida was around January 9th. So around this range will be when we will hear the official.
Armando, you know your stuff, Armando. Yeah. Yes. So consider the fact that we probably within the next few weeks we'll have an announcement for our fans.
No doubt. But Steve, this was great having you on the show. Appreciate you joining here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you, and I will see you in person very soon.
I'm looking forward to it, and again, thank you for having me.
Third and final segment here on this Thursday, January 1st edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. And I would like to thank Steve Mayer for joining me on the show to discuss everything in relation to the Winter Classic. So lots of great things around the Winter Classic going on, and just an exciting time in South Florida as we are continuing to celebrate and grow the game. And the NHL has announced that it is going to be a sellout for the 2026 Winter Classic, as we are expected to see a packed house of 36,000 people at Lone Depot Park. I also had the chance to visit the venue on Tuesday for the Winter Classic, and just letting you guys know that interview from Steve Mayer and myself happened back on Monday as well. So that's why you have different segments, and also you hear this segment on a travel microphone versus the one in my home base. But for this event, for the Winter Classic, there's going to be a few things going on there. There's a media skate that's going to be happening on New Year's Eve at 4 p.m., which I'm recording this at 2:20 p.m. on New Year's Eve. This will drop right at midnight on New Year's Day. So we'll provide you some information on how the ice actually feels on our crossover edition with Locked On New York Rangers going into the game on Friday. So that'll also drop on Friday with John Chick of Locked On New York Rangers. So you'll get my take there. But also the Panthers are going to be practicing at 1 p.m. on the ice. And will we see Matthew Tkachuk? Will we not see Matthew Tkachuk there on New Year's Day at 1 p.m.? And then the Rangers will take the ice shortly after that, as they are at this time of the time of this recording, they are currently in Washington playing the Capitals. Adam Fox made his return. He did score actually in that game. So last time I checked, it was 3-2 Washington. So they'll be flying into South Florida right after the game and celebrating the clock striking the new year for 2026. But a few options that you guys do have for the Fan Fest, which for the event, it starts at 2 p.m. The NHL on TNT crew will be there. Bill Zito will be speaking with the media at 1:30 that day. So we will provide any quotes or anything noteworthy from the Winter Classic from right before the Fan Fest actually begins. But there's also different ways of getting to Lone Depot Park, which is one is by car. If you want to park in the parking garages, there'll be $45 for you to park. It's also prepaid parking as well. You could also park at someone's house. Remember, it's the site of the old Orange Bowl. It's not the first time that we've seen a stadium in that area. So who knows what the prices are going to be. From my times in the past of going to games, I've seen somewhere around $20 to $30, depending on where you go. And if you're really willing to walk a little further, some lots have been charging $10 depending on where you go. So just be a little bit cautious about that. But some of the rules is no blocking other people's cars there, and some of them are actually pretty close by. And that if you're on Northwest 7th Street, especially, some of them are just quick lanes to get out of the area, depending on the day and how packed the stadium is going to be. But like I said, 36K might not be as easy to get out of there. But thankfully, it's a Friday night. Not a lot of people are going to be working, so getting in and out might be a little easier than on a normal day. But the fact that it's also winter break as well is very key when it comes to just the overall situation. It's a standalone game, which is great. And going into the weekend, that's also fantastic for the region. The other option for transportation, as far as that, is taking the Metro Rail and going to the parking garages, where there's also, if you want to drive to those parking garages at the Metro Rail station at Government Center, you could pay $15 there and then take the shuttle to the ballpark, which will drop you off just outside of center field. They usually do that for Marlins games as well. The old station was Colmer, but Colmer has not had a shuttle there for years. I remember going to that station, and then a few years ago, the shuttle no longer exists there, but it is Government Center that is the one. If you want to go to Colmer and make that 1 mile walk across the bridge and everything, and then wait if a boat goes under while the bridge lifts, be my guest. But if I'm attending as a fan, I'm choosing that Government Center stop. But there's also the Bright Line if you happen to be in Broward and Palm Beach County as well. Those are the options there if you do not want to drive into Dade County, which is very crowded. Let's not forget that this place is a little cramped there as well. So if the Bright Line is the better option as far as shuttle services, by all means there. But we did get an announcement on New Year's Eve about the announcement for Hockey Canada. And also, this isn't official. The Team USA will make this official. They will make their official roster public on the Today Show on Friday, the day of the actual Winter Classic. But let's go for the actual announcement first, and then let's go to the reports from someone else a little after. So Sam Reinhart and Brad Marchand are one of the two of the three Florida Panthers that I predicted that we're going to get in to the Hockey Canada team for Milano Cortina this winter. But Sam Bennett, the 2025 Conn Smythe Trophy winner and has proven to play well in big games, is not part of the roster. And some of the names that are there are Macklin Celebrini, who I predicted. I did not predict Bo Horvat to be part of the mix. He is in for the Olympics, which Elliot Friedman spoke about how Doug Armstrong really tried to trade for Bo Horvat when he was in Vancouver. So he's been a fan of Bo Horvat for ages. now. And Tom Wilson is also part of the team. That one I got right as far as the prediction. But Sam Bennett is not on the team. Connor Bedard is not on the team neither. That one I predicted correctly. The injury probably held him back. But Backlund Celebrini being part of the Art Ross race, and it's crazy to think that he's eligible for the World Junior team for Canada, and he can play in both the Olympics and Canada at 19 years old. But he's taken the league by storm, being part of that of the Art Ross race, especially early on in the season, which looks like it's going to be a 2-horse race with Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon. But Brad Marchand, not a surprise that he's there as well, on pace for 50 goals this season. Did score on Tuesday night against the Montreal Canadiens to keep up with that pace. He's going to probably set the record for oldest player to get 50 goals for that. I just feel bad for Sam Bennett, and it all comes down to a numbers game, and the slow start to be the beginning of the season was probably costly, and I can't say that I'm necessarily surprised. I was kind of expecting this announcement, but I did make the prediction, hoping that I was right, but I happened to be wrong, and he was always on the bubble for Hockey Canada. And then this announcement is not official, but Emily Kaplan of ESPN did report that Panthers defenseman Seth Jones is going to be part of Team USA hockey for the Olympics, and that is extremely exciting for Seth Jones, just being able to just up his stock from being traded to the Florida Panthers and then winning a Stanley Cup, and truly happy for him. Also, the other ones that are reported from Emily Kaplan on Team USA are Clayton Keller, Tage Thompson as well, which those are two guys that I predicted for Team USA in our recent episode that dropped late Monday afternoon, right before the game against the Washington Capitals. So congratulations to Seth Jones, if that report is true, which Emily Kaplan of ESPN is as plugged in as anyone. She's definitely. It's been more often she's been right than she has been wrong when it's come to her reporting. And also, one more thing before we get out of here on today's edition of the show is David Dwork, our friend here and my colleague at the Hockey News, did report that Alexander Barkov earlier this month has resumed skating. So that is encouraging. He's not going to be playing in the Olympics this year, and it's still a long road ahead for his rehab. But after tearing his ACL and MCL in the first day of training camp, it's very encouraging that he is right back on the ice and has an opportunity to possibly return for the playoffs. Ultimately, the trade deadline on March 6th is going to be an indicator of whether the Panthers do believe that he has a chance to return for the playoffs. Right now, the Panthers do have $3.8 million in relief. So we will see what happens then for the captain, and hopefully a return for the Panthers' chance to three-peat, as they are currently in a playoff spot. But that's going to do it for today's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'd like to thank Steve Mayer for joining me on the show. And thank you for the NHL PR department for setting up that interview with Steve and myself to just bring the excitement for South Florida as the game is just 1 day away from the time that this recording drops. So very thankful for that, and very thankful for myself and the entire South Florida region to experience this event. Thank you guys, as always, for listening. And in the meantime, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Steel Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Steve Mayer, and you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.